Last night, the solar system held its breath. At 04 Universal Time, October 3rd, the interstellar comet designated 3I Atlas swept past Mars, its closest brush with any world in its one-way passage through our system. For months, astronomers had prepared. Yet when the moment came, not NASA, not ESA, not even the most seasoned comet trackers were ready for what unfolded. As the comet's icy body slipped through the void, just 29 million kilometers from Mars, every spacecraft orbiting the red planet turned its gaze toward the visitor. Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Mars Express, MAVEN, the Trace Gas Orbiter, all instruments primed. On the dusty Martian plains, Perseverance's sensors were tuned for the faintest atmospheric whispers. Even Curiosity and the long-silent InSight lander were granted passive listening duties. Humanity had never been closer to watching an interstellar traveler in real time. For a while, everything looked familiar. A dim emerald halo, a tail stretching back toward the sun. Ordinary, until it wasn't. The comet brightened, first gradually, then violently, as if some hidden mechanism had switched on. Its coma expanded, glowing with a brilliance that forced instruments to recalibrate on the fly. Jets of gas erupted. Not the usual water vapor, but exotic plumes of carbon dioxide and cyanogen. Spectrographs lit with chemical signatures no cometary model had ever fully explained. To controllers, it felt less like a comet drifting by and more like an arrival. Then came the auroras. Mars, with its thin atmosphere and fractured magnetic fields, rarely hosts them, and yet, in the hours around the flyby, ultraviolet curtains rippled across its night side, far brighter than any solar event could explain. The glow was traced not to the sun, but to the comet. It was as if 3I Atlas had brushed against the planet and left it humming. But the true shock followed minutes later. Fragments tore free from the nucleus. Mars orbiting cameras caught shimmering shards spiraling away. Yet instead of drifting chaotically, they twisted in elegant, coiled trajectories. Some scientists called it spiral shedding. Others dared use the word avoided in astronomy circles. Guided. Almost immediately, the Trace Gas Orbiter detected another anomaly. A sharp surge in methane high in Mars's atmosphere. For decades, methane had been Mars's great riddle, appearing in fleeting bursts, vanishing without explanation. This time the spike was undeniable, synchronized perfectly with the comet's pass. Had 3I Atlas seeded the planet with exotic ice? Or had its radiation awakened something long buried beneath the crust? No one could say. But the timing was too perfect to dismiss. And then came the signal. At first it was faint, buried in static. A low hum, repeating every 22 seconds. NASA engineers assumed instrument noise, until ESA's Mars Express confirmed the same pulse from a completely different angle. 2 spacecraft, 2 confirmations, same rhythm. For nearly an hour, the hum echoed in the data. Too structured to be random, too weak to be called a transmission. Official reports would later label it plasma resonance, a natural interaction between a comet's tail and Mars' magnetized crust. But behind closed doors, whispers spread. What if it wasn't natural? Meanwhile, Earth-bound astronomers added their own evidence. Long exposure photographs showed the comet's glow intensifying, emerald green, brighter than physics predicted, as if the object had absorbed something from Mars and carried it onward. Burning hotter, stranger. Speculation ignited. Some argued it carried alien organics, now mixing with Mars's skies. Others pointed to the spiral fragments as signs of an impossible magnetic field. And the boldest suggested what many feared to say aloud. 3I Atlas was not entirely natural. Press releases spoke of outgassing, chemistry, plasma anomalies. But in quiet conference rooms, researchers debated darker possibilities. Was this truly a comet, or an artifact, disguised in dust and ice crossing our system? On the Martian surface, the machines bore silent witness. Perseverance recorded the green glow. Curiosity detected bursts of charged particles. Even InSight's dormant seismometer shuddered to life, logging strange electromagnetic noise tied to the comet's passing. Every machine on Mars, it seemed, felt the visitor. Now the world waits for what comes next. 3I Atlas continues its inward flight, racing toward perihelion on October 29th. If it behaves so strangely near Mars, what will happen as it plunges into the furnace of the inner system? Will it fragment spectacularly, scattering alien dust into the solar wind? Or will it hold together, its green banner blazing brighter as it nears Earth's orbital path in December? The possibilities are both thrilling and terrifying. In one vision, the comet shatters harmlessly, leaving dust and data. In another, massive fragments linger in the inner solar system, their orbits crossing with Earth's in years to come. And in the most unsettling theory, the comet's behavior is deliberate. The pulses, the spirals, the methane surge, signs not of nature, but of design. If true, 3I Atlas is not merely a visitor. It is a probe. And last night's encounter with Mars was a rehearsal. Imagine standing on the Martian soil at that moment. The night sky glowing emerald. Auroras shimmering where none should exist. Fragments overhead coiling like satellites. A thin atmosphere trembling to an invisible beat. For rovers, for orbiters, for human eyes on Earth, it was like glimpsing a secret written into the stars, just for a heartbeat. Today, every observatory on Earth is locked onto the comet. JWST awaits its chance after solar conjunction. Radio arrays listen for faint emissions. Citizen scientists log brightness flares in real time. The scientific community has mobilized in a way unseen since Oumuamua. Yet this is different. Oumuamua was silent, Borisov was ordinary. But 3I Atlas is neither. It brightens when it should fade. It fragments in spirals. It hums to Mars in pulses. It glows with an emerald fire. It feels less like an object and more like a story unfolding. One humanity has just begun to read. The coming weeks will decide its meaning. If it survives perihelion, its next act will unfold dangerously close to Earth's orbital lane. If it dies in the sun's heat, its shards will scatter, each carrying the same alien fingerprints. But one fact cannot be ignored. Mars has been marked. Auroras where none should be. Methane where none should exist. Pulses where silence should reign. When historians recall October 3, 2025, they may not remember it as a comet flyby. They may remember it as the night humanity learned interstellar visitors do not always pass quietly. That sometimes they knock, softly, rhythmically, just to see if we are listening. And if 3I Atlas is more than it seems, then last night was not an ending. It was an overture, the first movement in a performance that spans the stars. The only question, are we the audience or part of the play? Because Mars was not alone last night. And neither are we.